Hey guys, Rick Stone here from the blog Our Stony Acres and the online gardening school. Welcome to 5 Minute Fridays, my video series where I try and give you a valuable gardening tip in 5 minutes or less. Before we get started this week, please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, or if you're watching this on Facebook, make sure you like my Stony Acres Facebook page. All right, so this week we're going to talk about the 8 crops that you can still plant in July and expect to get a harvest before the first frost. Now, this post is very specific. It's for people that live in zones 5, 6, and maybe even 7, maybe like a 7A, okay? So these are people that are expecting to have their first frost roughly September 15th to maybe as late as October 15th. That's who this video is for. So if you live in those other zones, I'm happy to have you still listen, but this is specifically for people in zones 5, 6, and 7A. All right? Number 1 on the list is summer squash. So here we're talking about zucchini or crookneck squash or even patapan squash. All of those can still be planted in July, especially early July, and you'll have enough time for the plants to grow and to get a harvest. Now, it's not going to be a huge harvest. It's not going to go on forever and ever, but you will be able to get some fruit harvested from the plant before the frost comes. And to go along with that, number 2 on the list is cucumbers. Cucumbers are, again, a plant that can produce in as quickly as 60 days. Usually it prefers about 75. So if you get a late planting in July, you can still expect to get some harvest before the first frost, sorry. Next on the list, number 3, is onions, but onions planted in a very specific way, and that's by using sets. Okay, so you don't have enough time to plant onions by seed, and you probably are not going to be able to find onions to plant by start. But if you look around at your garden centers, they may still have a bag of onion sets sitting on the shelf. Go through those and find the best of them. And onion sets are the ones that come just as a little onion. And plant those and take good care of them, and you'll actually end up with a good harvest of mostly green onions. You're probably not going to have enough sunlight and day length left to actually get those plants to bulb up, but you will get a good harvest of green onions. So those are a great crop to plant in July. Next on the list, number 4, is kale. Now, kale is a great crop to plant and grow in the fall. And so if you get some planted in July, it will actually reach about its maximum maturity right when you start seeing the frost coming. And frost actually in cold temperatures is really good for kale because it changes the flavor quite a bit, makes it tastier, which sometimes kale really needs that. So plant some kale in July, you'll have a good harvest in the fall. Next on the list is some lettuces. Now, there are some specific lettuces that you can plant in the summertime and they will do pretty well, and those are called summer crisp lettuces. There's 2 or 3 varieties. The only 2 that we have grown is Muir and Nevada. But if you look out there, and in particular Johnny Seeds, they have summer crisp lettuces. Those lettuces, if you plant them in July, they'll hold up to the heat. They won't bolt and they won't get tip burn, and you'll get a nice harvest right about the 1st of September. So plant those summer crisp lettuces now and you'll do great. Next on the list is peas. All right, so peas, if you plant some peas in July and you live in zones 5 and 6, those peas will be ready to harvest in the fall. Now, you're not going to get anywhere near the harvest that you did from your spring peas. The stress and the heat of the summertime kind of holds back those peas and they don't do nearly as well. But you will get a decent harvest, especially if you choose a variety like snow peas or sugar snap peas, the types of peas that you can eat the whole pod. Those do pretty well in the fall. So get those planted now and they'll do great. We've got green beans at number 7, and green beans actually will do really well, especially if you plant the bush varieties. Bush varieties only have about 60 days to maturity and they'll do great. And so if you get some green beans planted in July, no problems getting a harvest from those before the last frost. And in fact, you'll probably get a full harvest from those plants. And then last on the list is leeks. Now, leeks are a crop that needs a long time to grow. And so you're not going to get really big leeks if you plant them now. But if you plant them and then cover them in the fall, once the cool temperatures arrive, with like a hoop house or a cold frame, you'll actually have a good harvest that will kind of sustain itself throughout the winter. And those will be smaller leeks, but a good harvest and a good variety for you. So those are your 8 crops that you can plant in July. And again, remember, zones 5 and 6. Now, before we go, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Stony Acres Facebook page. The other thing is if you're interested in extending your growing season and having a nice harvest in the fall and maybe even into the winter time, now is the time for you to start learning about year-round gardening. And I have a course on year-round gardening. This year we're going to be doing a big promotion. We'll have a 4-week session surrounding the course where we're going to go through it and really kind of tackle all of the issues and learn how to extend your growing season all the way in the winter. And so take a look at that. I'll include a link down to the course below in the description, so take a look at that as well. All right, that's all I have for you for this week. Everybody have a great week. Happy gardening.